So we're starting the year off with some digital discussions, and one of the things that we know is a maturing strategy is SEO. So I thought I'd start off this digital discussion with a friendly face. You might recognize him. It's my coworker, Nate Plant. So welcome, Nate.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So one of the things that I want to cover, well, actually, there's probably two quick things that I want to cover within this with this interview today. So the first is SEO continues to be an emerging strategy, and I want to hear a little bit more about what you think the state of SEO might be. The second one being, we know that you have a presentation coming up that's the 30-minute SEO checkup, so we want to hear a little bit more details about that as well. But coming back to the first point, as SEO continues to grow, it continues to emerge in the marketplace and as a digital marketing strategy, let's hear a little bit more about that. And so we just had the State of the Union address from the president. If I can be so cliche as to ask you what the state of SEO is, how would you respond?
Well, as the president of SEO, I respond to that question as, the state of SEO is really, everything is staying the same, but at the same time, everything is changing. I know this doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'm going to explain what I mean here. So everything is staying the same in that a lot of the same things that work well for your website are going to continue to work well, particularly the technical aspects and the technical features of SEO that you're doing to make your site more accessible and faster and things of that nature. But at the same time, everything's changing. The landscape is changing. Google's adding more features, rich answer snippets, other different functionalities that you can do right from the search results pages. And it's not just Google. It's Bing, it's Yahoo, and it's international search engines like Yandex and Baidu are integrating these cool features, all triggered, by the way, by those technical aspects of your website that enable the search engine crawlers to find that information quickly.
So one of the things you kind of started to mention a little bit there was some hints towards international SEO. How does that factor in towards brands now that are starting to play on a global scale?
Yeah, international SEO is an important thing. We don't, with a lot of local brands here or whatever, people that play in the domestic market, we don't pay a ton of attention to other search engines than Google because it's such a big force here in the U.S. But for those brands that do play internationally, they've got to up their game to look at some other search engines. Like in particular, Russia, their number one search engine is Yandex. China, their number one search engine is Baidu. And Korea, for example, their number one search engine is Naver. So while Google still does have a presence in those locations, it's not as big of a presence, or anywhere near as big of a presence, really, as it is here. So there's other things that you can do to optimize for these search engines. But number one is ensure your website's technically sound.
So with the other one, so technically sound sounds like it is still a key element. The other aspect of SEO that often comes into play is content. Is content still king, even on the international scale, or when dealing with some of those other search engines you mentioned?
Well, I think that accurately translated content is definitely king. You need to be speaking to your audience directly in their native language and even in their native dialect. And so once you have your content professionally translated, and I'm not saying don't use some over the internet translator thing that says, okay, this is what you're inputting in English, here's the output in Chinese. I mean, there's many different dialects. It's got to be specific. So you need a human to be able to add that personalization layer. Then you need to tag it correctly. And so, hey Baidu, this is my China content here, or this is my Mandarin content here, where I also have English content over on this side. And the same thing, you think about the European Union, there's many countries that are very close proximity. So somebody may be traveling between France and Spain and Italy, and that location is an important factor. So you need to target maybe Spanish speakers in Spain, but maybe you also want to target people that are speaking Spanish right across the border. So there's things you can do in the code of your website to enable that to happen.
Wonderful. So we'll transition away from the international SEO for a second, but just generally speaking, what would be one thing that you feel brands do very, very well when it comes to SEO? And on the flip side, what is one area of improvement that you see with a lot of different brands?
Well, I think that the number one thing that I see that brands do well is they actually pay attention to SEO. Successful brands online pay attention to SEO because you really have to. Gone are the days where you can just slap a website up and say, okay, I'm good. You have to do some intentional optimization. And for the most part, the people are doing it. The thing I see that time and time again that they're not doing well is paying attention to their website and at a normal interval of time. And so, kind of plugging my own webinar here, this is what I'm going to help these guys do is to run a quick 30-minute check on their website that anybody really can do. You can do it every week, every month, every day if you want to. It only takes 30 minutes, and it's going to let you get a pretty good pulse on how your site's performing.
That's a great transition into the webinar. What are maybe one or two reasons you think that people should attend the webinar? What can they hope to learn at the webinar?
Well, at the webinar, really what I'm going to be showcasing or teaching people how to do is use some tools that I typically use on a day-to-day workflow. And me as an SEO at an agency, I've got my toolkit. I'm going to give the marketers that are coming to this webinar an inside scoop on the things that I use, how to use them, and really have a step-by-step checklist for you to follow as you go through and check your site up.
Sounds great. So it sounds like running through a checklist, but some of these tools that you're going to mention, are these tools that are offered for free of charge, or are they stuff where people are going to have to walk away from the webinar and now go out and subscribe to a whole new platform that they didn't know existed before?
I'm a big advocate of websites performing really, really well. Obviously, it's my profession, and so I want this to be as accessible as possible to people. And so everything that I'm going to show is free. It's a free webinar. These are free tools. And it's free advice. So feel free to come join me.
Nice pun there.
Yeah, right.
So final word on the webinar here. So 30-minute SEO checkup. How often should a marketer actually check their website? So if they're spending 30 minutes checking it, do they spend 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes a week, 30 minutes a month? I mean, how often should they perform this checkup that you're going to teach people how to do?
As frequently as the site has changed. And so things can change sometimes within your control, obviously. If it's a small site, when you add content, when you delete content. There's things you should check every time that happens. But if you run a bigger site, you may not know that things are happening. Maybe this section of the corporation over here, they're no longer carrying a product category and they just eliminate it from the website. Maybe you're managing that website, but you have no idea. So I would say in that case, you probably check it once every 2 weeks or so. But what the great thing about this webinar is that it enables you to do it in a very short order. So as you make changes to your website, you're actually going to be able to go back and do the same check and see an immediate positive result. So I would say check it, fix it, check it again, and do it whenever time allows.
So you have the comparison. That's great. Great tips. So definitely look forward to the session, and thank you so much for being our guest today.
Yeah, thank you, Taylor. Look forward to seeing everybody out there next week.